Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Helen Kennedy, and I'm the Executive Director of the New Haven Schools Foundation. We are an independent nonprofit. We're affiliated with the New Haven School District, but we're separate from it. And what we do is we manage the scholarship program for all of the students in the school district. Last year, we gave out $184,500 in scholarships to New Haven graduates, some of them from Decoto School and some from Conley, some from Logan. And then, we have also have a scholarship that goes to a student at the adult school. So we cover every program that graduates kids from New Haven schools. We've been around since 1981, and we are largely supported by fundraising, and everything that we do has a price. And my job is to kind of scrounge around and I ask people for money pretty much every day. That's my job. So what I want to do today is teach you how to apply for some of these scholarships, and hopefully, give you an opportunity to go on to higher education with a little bit of financial support. When you receive a scholarship from our program, 98% of the time, the money goes directly to you, the student, and then you use it to either pay your tuition, buy books. You could use it to go towards a laptop or student housing or whatever you need, as long as it's associated with your schooling and your higher education. So to get started, we're going to go to this URL, nhsfoundation.awardspring.com. You will find that in the email message that I sent out to you. So if you don't want to write it down, it's in that message. Or if you want to go ahead and click through and follow along as I'm going through this, feel free to do that. And then if you have any questions, I am definitely open to questions. So we've got, if you want to put a question in the chat, perhaps I can answer it that way, or, feel free to just unmute and jump in and ask me. Okay, so now the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to log into the system. Now, on your first time, you need to register. So this is pre-populating one of my emails, but when you come in, the sign in will be blank, and then you need to click on this yellow button here that says register. And then when you do set up a registration, I'm going to call this DSIS at nhsfoundation.org. You want to make sure that you use an email address that is not your New Haven address. So the reason for that is if you win a scholarship, you're going to be, oh shoot. There. Okay, if you win a scholarship, you'll be interacting with AwardSpring after you leave New Haven. So your email address will no longer work after you leave. So we want you to use a personal address so that we can get in touch with you if we need to after school ends. Okay, so once you create your login, you just have to agree to the policy for privacy and terms of use. Basically, AwardSpring is a third-party system, and they set their own privacy policy. But as far as the information that you enter into your application, anything you type into your application could potentially be viewed by a scholarship reviewer. So these are the people who are going to be reading through student applications and selecting who is going to be the recipient of their scholarship. We do not share your address or telephone number or email address unless we come back and ask you specifically for permission. So they'll see your name and they'll see the city that you live in, but they won't know what your street address is. So once you get logged in, you land on this page. It's called your dashboard, and just kind of clicking through the different sections, you'll see the scholarships tab. And if you scroll down this one, you can see all of the different scholarships that are on offer for the class of 2022. This one in particular, the Decoto School Phoenix Scholarship, that one is exclusively for students from your program. We have a few others that the Lions Club, for example, has a scholarship that is earmarked. Let me see down here, this one, the Union City Lions Club Scholarship, that will go to a student who goes to either Conley or Decoto. And, so there are opportunities in here. Many of them, most of them, I would say, are college scholarships, and better than half for a 2 or 4 year college. So if you're planning to go to a community college, there's plenty of opportunity to still win a scholarship. We also have about 5 or 6 scholarships that are open to students who want to attend a trade school. So let's say you want to go and get technical training and become a computer programmer. There's a scholarship for that. If you wanted to become an auto mechanic or an electrician, or even if you wanted to go on to a beauty college and become a stylist, if you want to do one of those types of training programs, there are scholarships that could potentially cover that. So lots to think about, and you'll hear more about them as I go through the rest of the training. This page shows you all of the donors. These are organizations and individuals in the community. Every scholarship is sponsored by someone different. So for example, this particular one, the New Haven African American Alliance, they offer the DREAM Scholarship Program, and they have 6 scholarships offered under their program this year. We have the Bay Bombs Car Club. If you've been around Union City for long, you know the Bay Bombs. So they do their car show every year, and that's actually a fundraiser for this scholarship. We have, the Derek Richardson and Dr. Angela Hilton over here. They are both Stanford University graduates. They live here in Union City. Their scholarship is a wonderful thing. The student that they select, they actually, no, excuse me, they mentor this student. So they get to know them. They follow them at college. They are there. If the student has questions or problems that they want to discuss, they are in that Stanford University graduate network. So chances are, whatever school they go to, they know someone local to put them in touch with. So that's the kind of thing. The different sponsors have, different programs for you. Silva Law is a new one this year. That's Fatima Silva, who lives in Union City, but she's an attorney and she has her own TV show on the Discovery Channel. So this is our first time having her as a sponsor. And the Evangelista Bobadilla Family Fund, which you might recognize that name from Mrs. B there. This is a part of Mrs. B's family offering scholarships to students this year. So anyway, we have lots of different scholarships, and reading the stories about the donors is often, it's very interesting. The other thing is it helps you when you know what later in the process, when you know what scholarships you qualified for. If you go back and you read about the donor, you may learn something about what interests them, or some factor that might be important to them. And then you can go back and edit your essay and, add a comment or two that would resonate with that particular sponsor. So you'll know more, you'll understand that more when we get to the end. Okay, so back to the dashboard, which is your starting point. Whenever you come here, you will see how many items are required completion, or you'll see, what has already been completed, one or the other. So right now there's just one item, and that is to begin the application. So you click the Start button, and the application has 6 different sections. And basically, you just walk through the general information, academic, financial. You go through each section, in order. Answer to the best that you can. You don't have to complete every question before you move on to the next, but you do have to complete every section before you can finally submit your scholarship. So let me just start, and I'll refer back to that. So I've already told you about using a personal email address, not your school address. But if you forget, and some students do, the first thing you get is instructions on how to change that. And that's pointing right up here in the top right corner, where you could see your login name, and you would just go to the account and change your email address if you need to do so. Okay, the first question is explaining it's a community-based scholarship program. And what keeps this program going is the relationships between the sponsors and the foundations and the students. Since they are all individuals, it's really important to them that they know the student that they're helping. The way we do that, the way we introduce you, is we do an annual scholarship event. This year, we're planning for that to be in person on May 25th over at the Performing Arts Center. And we'll have a reception there where you have a chance to meet the person who awards you a scholarship. Now, the rest of this page is basic, common information that should be easy to answer. Your phone number, your gender, your address, and then every now and then you'll see a strangely worded question, and if so, there's a reason for it. It's because, like in this particular case, we need to be able to, there's a couple of scholarships that go only to Union City residents. So we had to structure this question so that we could do that filtering. So if you don't live in Union City, you just click My City is Not Listed and type it in. There's no requirement that you live in Union City, but I'm going to say that I do. The state, of course, is California. For 587, and then ethnicity. Let's see, I am white, not Hispanic. Okay, now I have clicked through, and you'll notice over here on the general information tab, it now says in progress. That means I missed a question. So if I go back, it will highlight the question that I didn't answer. And then now I can see that this has changed, the status has changed to completed. So I'm good to go on that section. So moving on to the academic information, you would select the high school that you attended is Decoto School for Independent Study. A lot of students do not start here. So let's say you went to Logan for 3 years and then you transferred to Decoto, you can go ahead and select both schools. Or if you've bounced between the different high school programs, it's okay to select more than one. The reason it's important is you might have participated in some programs while you were at Logan that are not offered during the independent study program. So, it does, kind of open up your field of experience a little bit more. We ask about the middle school because we have a couple of scholarships that they don't require that a student went to a particular middle school, but they do give preference, like the Erica LePay Memorial is offered by the former principal of Conley Carabello, not Conley, I'm sorry, Cesar Chavez Middle School. So they like to give preference to a student who graduated from that program. Next up is the question is asking for a current PDF copy of your unofficial high school transcript. Now, Ms. Stevens, can you explain how students can get their transcript? Okay, Well, I will do it. If you don't have your, if you don't know how to do this, it's either in your student portal where you can download it, or if you can't find it, contact Mrs. Stevens and she will get you a current copy of your transcript. You can modify this anytime up until the end of the day on March 1st. So if you have work to turn in, or if you have community service hours to turn in, anything that might change your, or I should say might improve your GPA or improve the number of community service hours you have on your transcript, you can go ahead and replace your transcript before the end of the filing period. So there's still time to turn in current work that's going to affect your grades. This is something that, you know, the other schools don't necessarily have the opportunity to do that, but because you're an independent study, you can turn in work at any time. So,
Helen, can I interject one little thing?
Yep.
Specific to that point is, try to, like, if you're going to complete a class and you want those credits and that class to appear on your transcript before you upload it to the application, make sure you get that done at least a week beforehand. All right. The office only works on updating transcripts and inserting grades on, I think, Friday. All right, so if you finish something on Tuesday and this application is due the next day or whatever, it just might not happen. All right, so make sure there's enough turnaround time for the office to process your grade card and to put it onto your transcript so it will be updated.
Okay, thank you. The one thing I would add there is to start your application now and go ahead and upload your current transcript, because some of the scholarships you apply for may have additional requirements that are going to require more work. And until you have everything completed, you can't submit the scholarship and you can't see what those additional requirements are. So upload your current transcript, and then if you can improve it, ask for that at least a week before the deadline. Okay, so now uploading a PDF, simply select a PDF copy and upload the file. The current GPA is we're looking for the weighted GPA as it appears on your transcript, and it is called the weighted GPA. So that's the one that we're looking for. How many hours of community service have you completed? This number should match what's on your transcript. Some of the scholarships do emphasize community service, so it's important to some of the sponsors. But, you know, we've been coaching all of the scholarship sponsors and reviewers that, you know, for you guys, this is your third year of high school being affected by COVID. And that kind of limits your ability to participate in community service activities. So they're not expecting the high numbers that they did a few years ago pre-COVID. So, but, you know, so just, you know, use the same number that appears on your transcript and know that they're understanding of the situation. So are you a special education student? Yes or no? You see questions like this and you're wondering, why are they asking me that? Well, every single question in this application is tied to a scholarship. So if we ask the question, that means there's a scholarship in the set that has that as one of their selection criteria. So that's what's behind the application form. Okay, so moving on to the highest degree that you hope to achieve. Like if you want to, let's say you're going to go to a community college, but you hope to go on to a 4-year college. So we're not looking for your immediate degree, which would be the 2-year associate degree. You would say that you want to get a bachelor degree. So whatever your end goal is in terms of a degree, that's the highest one. That's the one you want to select here. And then we want to know if you're going to school full-time or part-time. Then the next question asks about your planned college major or area of study. Now, there are a few students have kind of figured out that this is a database-driven software application. And we had a couple of students who went through and they just selected every choice because you can multi-select here. But so we had to set the rule don't select any more than 3, otherwise you're probably going to be disqualified by the sponsor. Now, all that does is makes them waste time reading applications that you don't really qualify for. You just said you qualified. So what we're looking for here is 2 or 3 areas of study. A lot of kids start college and they really don't know what they want to major in or what degree area they want to study. So you kind of know your areas of interest. So pick the 2 or 3 that are the closest. So I'm going to say hospitality, English literature, and medicine. Okay. So they're not related to each other, but anyway, that's what I've picked. So I'm going to attend a 4-year university, but wait a second, I'm going to go to a 2-year college first. So notice on this question, you can select both. This is also where you would indicate if you're going to do a technical school, which would be something like technical computer training programs. A vocational school would be something, like I said, like a beauty school, or maybe you want to be a nurse's aide or an LVN, something like that. And then a trade school would be something in the nature of like construction, or you want to be an electrician or a plumber or something like that. So go ahead and do that. And then, you can select none of the above if there's a special program that you're interested in. And it does limit your chances if that's the only thing you select. But, there are a couple where, they would accept some form of alternative training. So have you already been accepted at any college? I'm going to say East Bay, Cal State East Bay. And this is just something they're interested. They want to know, what are your plans? So the following question, do you plan to attend one of the following colleges? And there's University of California, a private 4-year college, which would be like a Stanford or an out-of-state school on an equivalent level with Cal. This is not here to make you feel bad. It's only that we have a scholarship that goes to a student who plans to attend one of these schools. And so if the answer is no, you just select no. Okay. It doesn't mean anything about your chances except for that one scholarship. Now, the career question, what field do you plan to work in? This is a kind of a short list to the very high level. So let's say I work in a nonprofit and I like to do marketing. So I select those 2. And again, we don't want you selecting everything because they're really looking to hone in on what really interests you as an individual. So as you get to the end of that section, you click the next step button, and I can see here, checking the list, that I have completed the academic section. The next section is assessing your financial need for scholarship assistance. So the number of people in your household, do you intend to apply for financial aid? I'll just give you a tip right now. The answer to that question is yes, because even right now in completing this application, you are applying for financial aid. So the sponsors, they don't want to help a student who doesn't need their help. So just say yes. Okay, the next question, we get into some assessment questions at certain places during the application. And this is where we want to get a little bit beyond just the yes or no. question. Do you have a financial need? Yes, of course. Well, describe it to us. And this is where you would enter some circumstances like my father became unemployed. My mother had to quit her job because she had to stay home and teach my younger brothers and sisters. Someone got ill in the family. Our house burned down. Whatever the cause of the financial need is just included here. It does not have to be a long, drawn out story. Just briefly, just state what the situation is. Could be something like, we have 3 kids in our family attending college, and it's a hardship for my parents to pay for the 4th student. So whatever it is valid. Enter it in that field. Are you on the free or reduced price meal program? That's a yes or no. And then what is your family household income? And so we're looking at, I had a question yesterday. A student had been living on her own since she was 16. And so since she's alone, we're looking for her income. If you live in a household with people who, where you're a dependent of your parents or other family members or people who might care for you, what you're looking for is what is the total annual family household income in your house. And when they assess the need, they do take this number and they'll divide it by the number of people in the household, which you answered previously. So we're looking at, with 4 people, 20,000 a year per person is not a large income. So they do take all that into consideration when they review the applications. Okay, the next step, next page is the application essay. This is really the most important element of your scholarship application. You have 1,500 words that you can put into your essay. I expect you've been working on your college application essays already, or your financial aid essays. These you can use the same letter and then adapt it if you need to in the system here. But we are looking for a letter that tells about yourself. This is how the sponsors get to know you as an individual, separate from all the boxes that you checked in the previous sections. Those are kind of quantitative information, and this goes to the quality, to what do you have to offer as a student. So what we're looking for here are what are your accomplishments, what are your skills, what are you good at, what's your favorite class, what kind of community service have you performed, what's your dream. And we're also looking for challenges that you may have overcome. Did you, sometimes students who are in independent study had struggled at Logan High School, or maybe your grades were really poor in your freshman year and you worked hard in independent study and you were able to bring those grades up. Let's say you have a family situation that has been really challenging and made it difficult for you to do your best in school. Stories like that are perfect for your essays. But I want to tell you, you get a lot of different people doing the reviews, and some of them are really, their heart opens up to you and they feel for you and they want to support you. Other ones, they're looking for a student who has really accomplished something academically, maybe, or whatever. So when you write your essay, you want to talk to both of those people. So talk both about your accomplishments and about your challenges. So don't focus on one or the other, just include a little bit of both. Any questions on the essays? Now, I know as you're writing your essays, if you want some coaching or you want someone to take a look at it, Ms. Stevens is available to you, and you can ask her for feedback on your essay. All you need to do is just cut and paste the text into this field. It's only 1,500 words, so if you go over, it's just going to cut off anything beyond 1,500. So do your word count before you paste. The final question on this page is a brief essay focusing on what makes you unique. This is where you would enter something like, I'm the one in my group of friends who always makes everybody laugh, or I am a great singer, or, you know, just something unique and unusual about you. And everyone has something, but you know, whatever it is that makes you unique, makes you different from your friends and other people that you know, that's what goes here. Just short.
Hey, Helen, I just want to say something really quick. This is Mrs. Stevens.
Yes.
Students, if you ever need help or want somebody to proofread your essay, which you really should always have somebody proofread your essay, I'm happy to help. And I know some teachers are happy to help too. So reach out to your teachers. And a lot of you have actually started your essays or done an essay already for your first assignment when you first started this year. So you can just tweak that essay. That's why we assigned that, so that you would have something to work from. So happy to help with that. Don't let that be a deterrent, because every time I get this every year, students didn't end up applying because they didn't want to write the essay or they didn't write the essay. So please, please, please don't let that be something that holds you back from getting this free money. Okay, we're happy to help with that.
That's right. I like that word, free money. That's what this is. Okay, next section is recommendation letters. And this is something you should do if you set up your application today and you don't do anything else. Go in and ask for your letters of recommendation. So one letter is required for all applications. The way that it works is you request a letter from a teacher or an advisor or a coach, someone who is familiar with your work. You request the letter, they receive an email. Then when they click through the email, they would write your recommendation letter, submit it, and it becomes part of your application for the reviewers to see when they're evaluating your application. So the practical thing to consider here is that teachers are really very busy and they have a lot of students, and there's only so many hours in a day. So you want to give them as much time as possible to get the letters submitted. They have to be in the system by March 1st, the same day as your application is due. So if you send the letter out now, they're going to have almost the full month to get that letter written and submitted. This, also being realistic, sometimes a teacher is too busy and will not get to your letter, or they're not comfortable writing it, or they don't remember you, or some such thing. So the first thing you want to do is ask for more than one. You only need one to be returned in order for it to be, for your application to be complete. Okay, so let's say I'm going to send a letter to Miss Stevens. Oops, let's spell her name correctly. Okay, so you type in their name and their email address, and there is a short blurb in there that would appear in the email. I'm applying for college scholarships. Would you please help me by providing a letter of recommendation? Okay, so if you click send request, that's what will go to them. So it's perfectly fine for most of them. But if you want to include something more personal, like I was in your math class last year. Could you write a letter talking about the project that I submitted for my class, or something like, if there's something specific that you want them to write about, you can put that in this message that goes to them. There are some scholarships that ask for, they want a letter that speaks to your community service work. So this could be like if you volunteer at a hospital, it would be, you send it to your supervisor at the hospital. Or if you, teach Sunday school at your church, you might send it to your pastor. whatever community service you're involved in. If you coach a youth soccer team, or you're a volunteer referee or something like that, you want to get a letter from someone who's associated with that. So in that case, you want to send, to your teachers, yes, but also send another letter out to somebody who could talk about community service. Okay, now I'm clicking send request. Now there's 2 more forms on the page. They're exactly like that one, so that you can send out 3 requests, up to 3 requests. Now, this is something that you kind of have to keep an eye on. So keep coming back throughout the month up until you get to the end. And you can see right here that you requested the letter and the status is pending. So it always helps if you talk to these people personally, or send them an email direct that says, that asks them if they would be willing to write a letter for you, so that they know that it's coming. And then if the letter doesn't come in, you may want to send a reminder, or go back and ask them, say, Miss Stevens is out sick and she's not going to be able to write a letter. In that case, you know that her letter is not going to come in time. You can click this button that says send a new request, and you can ask a different person to write you a letter. Or if she says, oh, you know what, I don't think I got the email, could you send it again? You just click this button that says resend request, and it sends her the email again, and that has the link so that you can click through and write the essay. Okay, makes sense? So this is your responsibility to keep an eye on this and make sure your letters are submitted. Now, just to get through the page, you have to select yes down here, or no, and that's, one of my pet peeves about the application, but just click it. Okay, so now this quick qualify section at the end. This is a whole page full of random questions that kind of get down only to the areas that are covered in certain scholarships. Like, for example, if you are, if you work in the classroom after school, you won't find that on here because we don't have a scholarship that requires that. So everything that's on this form, there is a scholarship that matches it. So on this particular page, select every single answer as long as it's true, as long as it applies. So I have a strong record of leadership. I was an English learner. That means English is not your first language. I have an excellent attendance record, or I have a disability, or, even I am a practicing Catholic. This is because we have a scholarship from St. Anne's Church. So whichever ones are true, you select all of them there. Now, because I said I'm a practicing Catholic, they want to know, do I go to St. Anne's, as opposed to, do I go to Our Lady of the Rosary? So a student who is a Catholic goes to St. Anne's. Now I qualify for that scholarship because I've selected those items. Let's say I'm also interested in history. Okay, now have you or a loved one faced a debilitating illness that affected your academic endeavors? This is a yes or no question. And it's talking only about illness. So I think a lot of people have had an exposure to COVID. So this would qualify. If that affected your learning in any way, you can write about that here. You select yes and just explain. But a lot of kids too have had a parent become ill with cancer, or and that affects your work too, because it really makes it harder to focus on school, and you may be called on to be a caregiver for that person. So if you're affected by this, either yourself, if you were sick, or if someone in your family was sick, you can mention that here. Next one, are you the first in your family to attend college or university? I'm just going to say yes. And guess what? I am, actually. So select school programs. If you participated in these programs, then select them. If not, you select none. So I'm going to say I was in the Institute for Community Leaders. And have you contributed in a positive way to your family or community? If you select yes or not sure, you're going to get a little brief essay section. The reason this question is here, it was added last year because of COVID, because the sponsors who really have an interest in a student who is involved in the community, they recognize that you may not have earned as many community service hours as you might have in the past. However, you may still be doing something that's contributing, like perhaps you're helping your younger siblings with their independent study at school, at home, or perhaps your parents are working from home and so they need your help taking care of other chores around the house, or whatever you're doing that's helping somebody else that might not qualify as community service. This is what you want to write about here. Okay, and are you currently employed? If you say yes, you're going to be asked a few questions about that, like how long have you been employed? What type of work do you do? And where do you work? You do not have to say, I work at the McDonald's on Decoto Road. You can say, I work at a fast food restaurant. Okay, so you can be general there. And that question is supposed to go away if I say no. And have you experienced family, academic, financial, or emotional hardship? If you say yes, again, you're going to get a little pop-up question asking you to explain it. And then we come down to the activities. And, we have a number of scholarships. Some are sports scholarships. There's one there who's going exclusively to a student who wants to be involved in music, whether as a performer or a teacher or a movie or a music producer, something like that. So if you select music, for example, it asks what kind of musical activity. So I was in the band, let's say, or if I wasn't in the band, but I play an instrument. If I'm in athletics, it's going to ask me what sport was I in. So I played baseball and I did track and field. Okay, so anything you suggest, select here, like if you're in a club, are you in the Leo Club or the Interact Club? Okay, so you select whatever applies. So you kind of get how that works. Select everything that you can that's true on this page. Okay, and then finally, we have a couple of scholarships that are looking for a scholar athlete. So did you take an AP or honors class in the same quarter that you played on a varsity or JV football team? If so, say yes. If not, say no. Now, I am at the end here. And so I no longer can click the next button. But I have the submit application button over here is disabled because I missed something. And in this case, let's what kind of work do I do? Let's go ahead and select yes. And I will enter that. Restaurant work. How many hours? I work 10 hours a week. Okay. And so now I have completed all the questions on the form, and this submit application button lights up. Now, once you submit the application, you can still edit it up until the end of the day on March 1st. So go ahead and submit it. And the reason you're submitting it is because some of the scholarships have additional requirements that need to be completed before you qualify for them. Like the Lions Club scholarship that I told you about. This one is going to go to a student in one of the alternative programs. So what happens when you click on that is you read about the scholarship and what the qualifications are. And in this particular case, the additional requirement is they want another short essay. And this is describe how you provided service to your community outside of school. And this means like if it has to be outside of school. Anything like if you volunteer at a school program, that's not what they're looking for here. So you would write in an essay. The other thing to know about this scholarship is that for the Lions Club scholarship, they will not see your main essay. So they've chosen that they're only going to focus on service. So if you wrote it in your main essay, you're going to write it again here to make sure that the Lions see that part. And that, whenever, if that is the case, we explain it here. So be sure to read what the instructions say. So if they don't see your main essay, that means go ahead and repeat something you've written before. And there are only 2 scholarships that say that. So it's not something you'll see a lot. Okay, and then this one is just a reminder. It requires a recommendation letter from someone who describes community service that you perform. Now it says, did you receive a letter? And the only correct answer is yes, to submit. So in this case, like at this point in time, we might have requested that letter, but the letter has not been received. So you want to take this short essay that you wrote and save it somewhere, because you have to be able to say yes before you can submit. But let's say I'm going to say yes, and then I'll submit the application. Does that make sense? Save that essay so you don't have to write it again when you come back. So now I completed those questions and I can resubmit. The class of 79, their question is, if money didn't matter, what would you do with your life? And I would say I would go to the Mediterranean and sail. Mediterranean and sail. Okay, or whatever. There it is. Okay. And then you submit the application. Okay, so whatever it is you would do, and be thoughtful about it too, because remember they're considering you for an application and for a scholarship, and they really don't want to give a scholarship to someone who wants to go just lay around on a boat in the sunshine. So you want to put something there about like if you think of Malala and her journeys for helping women with education, or something like like if you have something that you would work on but you can't because you have to make a living, that's a place to write down that type of an aspiration. Okay, so here is one for Mrs. B's family, and this one asks for a short explanation about your immigrant experience. So this is looking for a student who was not born here in the United States, and what is the challenge of being part of an immigrant family and assimilating. So this would be a chance to write that. So these essays are generally about a specific topic, and you want to go into as much detail as possible. Okay, so note every time I complete a follow-up, this number up here, number of items that require completion, that number goes down until eventually it will get to 0, to where I've completed all of the work. But if you still have opportunities to improve your chances of winning. So you notice I didn't write particularly compelling essays as I went through the application, but yet because I clicked the right boxes, I can see on this list of scholarship that I've been applied for quite a few of them. That means that my answers qualified me for that application. Some of them, perhaps I did not meet the qualifications, and then that one says not qualified. So if I'm not qualified, I can come in and I can look at it, and I have to have a hardship. I have a financial hardship and I need a scholarship, or I have a GPS, maybe my GPS is too high or too low. So I can go back into my application, and if I've made a mistake, or if I think I should qualify for this, I can find the place in my scholarship where I perhaps didn't answer the question correctly. And that's where it's going to help me to match that. So if you ever see a scholarship where you think you should qualify for it, but you didn't, then you want to look a little harder and talk to Miss Stevens, or, if she can't figure it out, call me and we'll figure out why it didn't match you. Then you have some other ones like this one here, the Countless Flamme Family Leadership Scholarship. This one is offered by Miss Linda Canlis, who's on the school board here. So strong record of leadership, a financial need, 2.5 GPA or better, and 3 hours of community service. So I did qualify for this. And I checked the box that said I have a strong record of leadership. But my essay didn't really talk about that very much. So even though I checked the right box, I should probably go back into my essay and write a little bit more about my leadership abilities or my leadership experience, so that they give it proper consideration when they read my essay. Okay, and you will also see on this same screen, you'll see the ones that have a follow-up question that's required. You'll see where you're qualified, where you're not. And, there are a lot of scholarships on here. And so don't expect to qualify for a lot of them. If you qualify for 5 or 6 or, even 3, sometimes if it's the right one, that's just fine. So nobody qualifies for all of them. It's just not possible. So you're going to see some where you qualify and some where you don't, and some that require a little bit more work. Okay, so that gets me down to the end of the process. And then what happens after March 1st is that your access to the application goes away. So you need to be sure and make all of your changes by the end of the day, March 1st. And then at that point, all of the scholarship reviewers can come into the system and they will see the applications for all the students who had qualified for their scholarship. They have a month to review the applications, and then there's usually some discussion period as they select the winners. And then, by the end of April, we will notify the students of whether or not they have been awarded a scholarship. And those who have will be invited to attend the scholarship presentation on May the 25th. So that's the end of my program. Do we have any questions or anything I can help you to understand?
If no students do, I do have one question, Helen. This is Tina.
Sure.
I know in the past that sometimes once students qualified for the essays at the very end, certain scholarships pushed out an additional essay, short essay.
Yes.
Related specifically. Is that essay due also?
Yes, everything.
With the deadline. So it's really important for students to submit early, right?
Yes.
Check back to award spring to see if there are any additional follow-up essays, and then submit those additional essays before the deadline.
Right, exactly. Don't wait till you have everything to submit. So. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording now. Ms. Stevens, did you have anything you want to say before I turn it off?
No, I just want to thank you for your time. Thank you, Helen. Thank you to the students that showed up. I know I've been hounding you guys. I do this every year. Emails and calls and texts. But you're going to thank yourself later for this, especially if you apply. So make sure you don't, a lot of students show up to the workshop. They start their application and some just never finish it. And that's heartbreaking. Don't do that. If you need help from us, if you need help, I'm good about motivating you guys. So if you need help, reminders every week, I'm happy to do that. But you just have 1 month. So focus on getting the application done. And sometimes it's better to do it, like get it all started today. You're not going to finish it all, but if you get started today, it kind of helps get the ball rolling,
Right. And you will get reminders from me as well. And so I send emails to all of the seniors up until the end of the application period. And then after that, the communications only go to the students who actually submitted the applications and are under consideration. So, okay, so good luck to all of you. I can't wait to read some of your stories. That's always my favorite part of the process.
Yeah, and if anybody needs help, reach out. That's what we're here for. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be shy.